As soon as she sat down, laughter erupted around her. Kwame sneered. What's this poor village girl doing here? Don't you have some crops to tend to? Neka's cheeks burned with humiliation, but she refused to show weakness. I'm here to eat, just like everyone else, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. One afternoon, as Neka sat alone in the cafeteria, Aminata approached her with a fake smile. Hey Neka, why don't you join us for lunch? She said, gesturing to Kwame and his friends who were watching from across the room. Neka hesitated, knowing it was a trap, but the hope of finally being accepted outweighed her doubts, and followed Aminata to their table. As soon as she sat down, laughter erupted around her. Kwame sneered. What's this poor village girl doing here? Don't you have some crops to tend to? Neka's cheeks burned with humiliation, but she refused to show weakness. I'm here to eat, just like everyone else, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Adaku stomped over, her fists clenched in anger. Leave her alone, Kwame. You think you're so high and mighty just because your parents have money. But that doesn't give you the right to treat others like dirt. Kwame's smirk faded, replaced by a scowl. Who do you think you are, Adaku? Just another peasant like your friend here. Before things could escalate further, the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. Neka and Adaku hurried out of the cafeteria, their hearts pounding with adrenaline. We can't let them get away with this, Adaku said, her eyes flashing with determination. Neka nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. Maybe they weren't alone in this after all. That evening, as they sat in Neka's dorm room, they hatched a plan to take down Kwame and his cronies once and for all. It would be risky, but they were willing to do whatever it took to stand up for themselves and their fellow outcasts. The next day, rumors began to spread like wildfire through the school. Kwame's expensive watch had gone missing, and no one knew who was behind it. Aminata's designer handbag vanished from the locker room, along with several other pricey items belonging to Kwame's friends. The bullies were furious, accusing Neka and Adaku of being behind the theft. But they had no proof, and the other students seemed to relish the chaos, secretly cheering for the underdogs. As the weeks went by, Neka and Adaku became bolder in their rebellion, staging elaborate pranks and sabotage missions to undermine Kwame's authority. They discovered allies in unexpected places, students who were tired of living in fear and ready to fight back. But Kwame wasn't about to go down without a fight. He launched a smear campaign against Neka and Adaku, spreading lies and rumors to turn the rest of the student body against them. Despite the mounting pressure, Neka and Adaku refused to back down. They knew that their cause was just, and they were willing to face whatever consequences came their way. And so, the battle raged on, each side refusing to give an inch. Weeks turned into months, and the tension at Prestige School reached a boiling point. Neka and Adaku's rebellion had sparked a wave of defiance among the students, leading to clashes with teachers and administrators who struggled to maintain control. Despite the chaos, Neka found solace in the solidarity of her fellow outcasts. They had formed a tight-knit community, bound together by their shared experiences of oppression and discrimination. But just as they began to believe they were making progress, tragedy struck. One evening, Adaku failed to return to the dormitory after a study session. Neka searched frantically for her friend, her heart pounding with fear. Finally, she found Adaku slumped against the wall, her face bruised and bloodied. Adako, what happened? Neka cried, kneeling beside her friend. Adako winced in pain, her voice barely a whisper. It was Kwame and his gangs. They ambushed me, said they'll teach me a lesson for standing up to them. Neka's blood boiled with rage. She helped Adako to her feet and vowed to seek justice for what had been done to her friend. The next day, Neka confronted the school authorities, demanding that action be taken against Kwame and his accomplices. But they brushed her off, insisting that there was no concrete evidence to support her claims. Frustrated and disillusioned, Neka knew that she couldn't rely on the adults to protect them. It was up to her and her friends to take matters into their own hands. They organized a protest, rallying the students to demand justice for Adako and an end to the reign of terror perpetuated by Kwame and his cronies. They marched through the halls of Prestige School, chanting slogans and waving banners, determined to make their voices heard. But Kwame wasn't about to let them disrupt his power. He rallied his supporters and confronted the protesters, leading to a violent clash that left several students injured. In the midst of the chaos, Neka stood her ground, refusing to back down in the face of adversity. She knew that the fight for justice would be long and difficult, but she was willing to risk everything to create a better future for herself and her friends. As the days passed, tensions at Prestige School remained high. Neka and her friends refused to be intimidated by Kwame's threats, continuing their fight for justice with even greater determination. But their efforts seemed to fall on deaf ears. The school administration remained indifferent to their plea for action, more concerned with maintaining the school's reputation than addressing the underlying issues of bullying and discrimination. Undeterred, Neka and her allies turned to social media, using the power of the internet to amplify their voices and shine a spotlight on the injustices they faced. Their campaign gained traction, drawing attention from both local and international media outlets. Suddenly, the school found itself under intense scrutiny, forced to acknowledge the systemic problem that had been allowed to fester for far too long. Pressure mounted on the administration to take decisive actions, and they could no longer ignore the calls for change. In a surprising turn of events, the school announced the formation of a student-led task force dedicated to addressing issues of bullying and harassment. Neka and Adako were chosen as co-chairs, tasked with spearheading the initiative and implementing reforms to create a safer and more inclusive environment for all students. It was a victory for Neka and her friends, a testament to the power of perseverance and collective action, but they knew that their work was far from over. Real change would require sustained effort and commitment, and they were ready to rise to the challenge.